Hello and welcome to Speakeasy. On May the 27th, a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court ruled that the special intensive revision of electoral rolls in Bihar was valid. The bench also said that anybody who was left out of the electoral roll could be now referred to the central government, and that person would in turn be addressed through a process under the Citizenship Act. So we have a situation now where we have West Bengal. So in effect, what the Supreme Court judgment does is that not only does it validate the SIR in Bihar, it validates the SIR process going on in the rest of the country. And we all know that about 90 lakh people were left out in West Bengal, and then a process started, and we now have 27 lakhs who are facing the music in a sense, in trying to prove themselves bona fide voters in Bengal. The elections may be over, but this process is going on. So actually my mind goes back to the 1997 SIR in Assam, following which a doubtful category, a D category voter was created. So what does all this mean? You know, the Election Commission's operation has literally been legally stamped by the Supreme Court. So what does all this mean for Indian electoral system, Indian political system? Because will we have large numbers of people in different states once the SIR process is completed who are not considered voters? What happens to these people? How are they going to be dealt with? And we all know the processes in the country, they take so long. Today, we have a special guest in Speakeasy, Professor Manoj Kumar Jha, Member of Parliament for the Rashtriya Janata Dal, Professor of Social Work in Delhi University, and a well-known commentator on current affairs. So, Professor Jha, please tell us, how do you look at this process politically? Because this is, of course, a legal judgment, but there are many political implications.
I must be very frank. Before you ask me to react to it politically, as a citizen, as a student of history and contemporary politics, as a student who has very strongly believed in the idea of India, as somebody who that there is no alternative to Gandhian, Nehruvian thinking in this country, I'm little alarmed and disturbed. Not only about the way the outcome is being perceived by the media and by all of us, but also by the sheer use of language. If you remember, I was a petitioner on SIR. We never challenged the authority of Election Commission. What we wanted, that an inclusion exercise should not result in exclusion. In a country where judicial delay is very, very obvious, if you look at the timeline of any case, there are certain cases where the trials has not begun, but in the name of pending trial, there are people for 5-6 years in jail. So that worries me as a citizen, that where we are heading to. You refer to Bengal, even in Bihar, if there are people who did not have the paper the way it was demanded. And mind it, let me bring something. If we had not approached the Honorable Supreme Court, documents like Aadhaar would not have been included. We were able to do it because we could convince the Honorable Supreme Court that this document has the maximum penetration in the case of my state. Now, even looking at Bengal, I find. Now, I'm worried that there could be large number of people, stateless people. Not because...
But you think voteless and stateless will go together?
That's what it appears as of now. Voteless, look at the language. I'm sorry to say, because in darker times, you look for institutional relief. And Supreme Court, in last couple of years, I think whenever we approached for multiple reasons, we actually wanted to see some possibility of a light. at the dark end of the tunnel. Now, if the honorable judge of the Supreme Court says that if you cannot vote this time, and if you get your name gets clear, you would vote next time. This not voting this time, such ordinariness, the way it was presented, if you go back to Constituent Assembly debate, when universal franchise was being debated, the seriousness of the debate, the sanctity they attached, I think it all evaporates. So I fear that in my country, Bengal or even Bihar, or now it is going towards other state, we could have voteless, stateless people in this country. And all this rhetoric of sending them across the borders, it won't work. We have not seen such cases. What
But
it's
you also, even now, I mean, till some years ago, election commission's goal was to include people. There were all these campaigns, continuing, I mean, through the media and other channels, that how to get more people to enroll. All those who are turning 18, they should be enrolled. So, I mean, what
no,
is this?
no,
So,
that
is this a targeted exercise then?
it's purely targeted exercise. I think only 2 3 people know. One from the government and one who is sitting at the top of this body. What is important? Amiji, nobody. We have so many election commissioners alive, those who have worked recently. None of them came in favor of this modus operandi of SIR. Why? If there was such merit, at least it could have got support from 2 or 3.
And
It,
many of them are appointees of this
yeah,
government.
this government's appointee. I tell you, in that context, because, and second, something which I must bring, the level of arrogance. I have been interacting with election commissioners for very long. Much before I joined parliament, I came to parliament as a university teacher also. In order to raise some public issue, we have approached. This arrogance, I think it doesn't go down well with a body which is entrusted to conduct free and fair election. So, after meeting him, I wrote an imaginary piece of letter from the first election commissioner, that is Sukumar Sen, to the present election commissioner. This epistolary form of writing was meant to convey to him that all is not well. And that's what I see today when in Maharashtra people are told that such and such numbers will not get this benefit, such and such numbers will not get this benefit, or as your question carried, what we have seen in Assam, D voters. So we'll have multiple layers of citizens in this country or non-citizens. One, E voters, eligible voters. One is D voters. One could be a different category altogether, that till your case is pending, you are stateless and voterless. So, I mean, I never imagine in my country I would see these kind of images, which is horrifying and intimidating to everyone.
So, what is your sense? I mean, the kind of role the election commission is playing, is that something personal to the chief election commissioner, or is it an institutional process which is backing the government now?
I'll tell you the other way around. Government is somehow, I feel, is backing an idea that you would have in on paper free and fair election, but the conclusion of the election is foregone conclusion. I mean, it's known beforehand. If you look at Assam, the constituencies, the way they have been crafted, it's not without reason, any reason, that when people ridicule Congress, that you have 20 MLAs or 19 MLAs and 18 of them are Muslim. So if your idea is to
No, it will be reduced to a Muslim party in
yeah,
that sense, I mean, quote unquote.
quote unquote, that's what somewhere I find a design, a kind of connection between this SIR and government's proposed delimitation. These are not two standalone phenomena. They have a connectivity. They have a relationship. And this relationship is presented as being organic relationship. And I don't think the individual sitting at the top of election commission matters much, but the top two people of the government are very keen that they should have a kind of arrangement which guarantees them at least 2 3 election victories on the basis of new constituencies which emerge.
So, what is your sense? I mean, we also saw some years ago the protests against the CAA and NRC, and a lot of it related to the fears of the Muslim minority. So, is this SIR? Because we also have some evidence that, say, of the 27 lakh who have been excluded, in Bengal, many of them happen to be Muslims. So, is it that this is a kind of an NRC process by the back door with a very pliant election commission
Look,
helping?
I'll tell you, they don't even, if you read their language, written or spoken, it is not even backdoor types. It's almost like doing it under the garb, not backdoor. Just change the mask and go ahead. And as far as, uh, I feel bad because after partition, this country was on the mission of healing, and we largely succeeded. I won't say we were very successful. We had very cordial relationship between communities, but aberrations in relationship notwithstanding, everybody thought that shared existence is the only alternative we have. Now suddenly Muslims are presented in this country not very dissimilar to how Führer viewed Jews in Germany. Times have changed, so the vocabulary has changed. But underneath any argument, there is a feeling, and I believe Muslim disenfranchisement, not strictly as in a literal sense, but metaphorically, reducing a community to the level of an undesirable thing. It's a project which this present government undertook. Even their precursors were on it, but they were not so brazen, not so blatant. But this brazenness and blatant phenomena has got significantly societal acceptance also. So if you ask for my list of worrisome phenomena, this is also one of those.
Because it's this communal poison is really seeped down in society.
It's not only communal poison anymore. It has acquired a theoretical paradigm of its own. So whether be a cricket match or a festival or something very very economic in nature, this angle is the first explanation available in the media across board, and that's sad. That's very very sad.
Dr. Jha, you referred to vocabulary. So we have now the Chief Justice of India. I'm on vocabulary, I'm not on the party, using the term cockroaches for young people and also going on to describe them as parasites. And we saw the response. I'm also going to relate this term cockroach to one used by a very senior minister of termites. So, this kind of language that is being used, I mean, what does this reflect? Does already poor people in this country, with what the war in West Asia, they're suffering. Many of them can't live in cities, they're going back home because they can't buy gas cylinders. So, is this, I know it was used for poor people, for young people, but isn't this a kind of contempt for people? I mean, this kind of language that you use, I mean, whether it's an oral remark or, when the Chief Justice of India speaks, people listen. And today it's all live telecast.
I'll tell you, it's not only simply a language of contempt, it's much more serious than that. I'm a student of history. There was this phenomena in Germany where the first term used for Jews were vermin, if you remember. Discrimination or demonization first start in language. It starts with the language. So, violence in the language, it is tested. Demonization in the language, it's a test. If society accepts it,
Then you go
then
further.
then it converts into physical forms of violence. So violence in the language prepares an audience, a supporting group, and then if actual violence takes place, nobody is surprised. They take it as a logical phenomena. Although Honorable Chief Justice uh, clarified it the next day, and I had written an open letter, a very, uh, I think, a very carefully penned and sensitive to the concerns he had expressed. But I believe if you examine the languages being employed by people at the top, it's not just a problem of the discourse, it's the problem which they don't see it as a problem. They see it as a linear paradigm where violence in language prepares violence on the streets, and we have seen enough of it in last couple of years.
So do you think that the battle for secular India has been lost?
If I say, what do you want me to be honest about it, or even in pessimism, I also should search for some words that your audience, when they watch it, they don't
Because
see it
there's quite
as
a lot of
lost.
despair in the country.
I share that despair. Share that despair because recently, I think for Frontline itself, I wrote a piece, and that piece, when I wrote about Nehru and Guru Dutt, the purpose was because when I read Nehru's letter, I felt, after reading multiple times his books, you would realize there was a loner in Nehru. He had huge tasks to do, and he was overwhelmed by that responsibility. Partitioned India, literacy, and so many other challenges. Some of the colleagues with the right wing tilt. So was the struggle in a different plane, different arena with Guru Dutt. Very creative, full of energy at the same time. So, yet there was a similarity. They could see the possibility of a new India. They could see the possibility of healing because they knew we are hurt. So only option is heal, to heal through cinema, heal through parliament, heal through policy. Today, healing is conspicuous by its absent. Hurt, more of hurt. He is hurt him more. That community, it's hurt. The hurt is collective. Let's have more of it. Now, I believe in this scenario, holding on to hope is very difficult. Yet we don't have any option, because I also believe that any ideology, there is this theory of Oswald Spengler, rise and fall of civilization. Not a great fan of Spengler, but a great fan of this possibility of rise and fall. And I have seen it enough. So I believe that someday, in some Latin American countries, it has happened. Someday people will realize, as I can see some of those images in recent times, whether it is on CBSE or NEET or say or similar other issues, I see that people at least temporarily look at away from temple, mosque, this religious polarization. I believe with this sense, which is limited as of now, if it becomes a collective sense, we shall overcome and we shall proceed to probably resume the project of nation building, which was halted. I won't say only because of Modi ji, which was halted midway in the 70s or late 70s.
So now I want to come to the response to the cockroach remark. We've seen the emergence on social media of a cockroach Janata Party and huge following, on social media, especially on Instagram, crossing the largest political party in the world. So, how do you see that phenomena? Is that a sign of hope? Is that a sign of discontent? What do you see it as?
Look, as a political observer, as a citizen of this country, I believe there is discontent, massive discontent, and it doesn't require rocket science for anyone, the knowledge of rocket science to understand that. But on political formation or any kind of direction to this journey, you would understand, Amitji, ideological clarity is very, very important. We have seen political parties rising and dying soon because ideology is spine.
Sorry?
Ideology is spine. If the spine is missing, you might have temporary success. Maybe the temporary is not that temporary, but ultimately people will ask you, what is your position on constitutional values? How do you feel about equality, justice, social justice, freedom? I mean, China also is doing very well. But would we like to become one China? Because in spite of all the ills, we have multi-party system. China, one party, one nation, one party, lot. Although RSS BJP wants that kind of arrangement, that one nation,
One
one
religion.
election, one nation, one party, and it can go to the ridiculous extent that one nation, one capitalist. That could also
Or
be
two.
or maybe the one only.
One.
The second one is just struggling. Anyway, let's leave at that. Why I'm saying this, that about this phenomena CJP, I would wait to see how they decide to speak on multiple issues. For instance, there are countries in this world, there is no hunger, agree, but there is no freedom. So the choice is not between hunger and freedom. The choice is what I used to say in my class, that we have two kinds of freedom. Some people say freedom from want. Some people say freedom of expression. We want freedom from and freedom of, a combination of both.
So, coming to politics phenomena, the spine that you mentioned, we are sitting in Delhi. We saw the phenomena of the Aam Aadmi Party. And a lot of people who are not linked to politics came out in droves to join that. And while the jury is still out on the future of the Aam Aadmi Party, they have a state government in Punjab. It's not as if they don't. But they seem to have adopted many of the traits of traditional political parties, which led to a lot of people, leaving it. So, like, I feel personally that the symbol of Mr. Kejriwal's Wagon-R car, or is similar to what Mamata Banerjee had with her Zen, whatever it was. So, do you think that that's disillusionment with politics? You're a teacher also, you're a professor at the Delhi School of Social Work. I mean, how do you see, you interact with young people, how do you see their interest or approach to politics today?
Look, I'll tell you, although I've worked very closely in parliament with Aam Aadmi Party, but about Anna movement and the symbolism in Anna movement, I had a very different view. Many of my colleagues that time did not agree with me because I teach a paper called Social Movement. So they had literally forced me to go to Jantar Mantar. I went, spent time, but did not have a very good feeling because I'm somebody who watches symbols, posters, slogans very carefully. What do they convey? Then there were a couple of other issues, particularly during COVID period, when uh, uh, we thought that the governance would look at it differently. My students, if I tell you, when I go to take class, generally there is a cynicism, and their cynicism towards politics is not unfounded. They have they loved a particular phenomena. They did not see it evolving the way they thought it would. Have you read a story called Har Ki Jeet? It's a very popular Hindi story by Sudarshan, if I'm not mistaken. There is this old man. He had a horse, and a dacoit had an eye on that horse. So he tried everything. He was not able to part with the horse. One day he dressed himself as physically challenged and sought help. That dacoit. So he said, "Okay, please come." And then he kicked Baba Bharti, and Khadak Singh the dacoit, he went away. He shouted from behind that, "Look, don't tell anyone how did you get this horse. Otherwise, people will not believe physically challenged people." The moral of the story is, once you are bitten or you get disappointed, another powerful movement to arise, it takes time. So, a combination of my opinion on Aam Aadmi Party and CJP is through this metaphorical intervention from Baba Bharti.
So one of the things we've seen, quite apart from other systems coming under stress and pressure from the Modi government, we also see a complete collapse of the examination system. Whether we are looking at NEET, we are looking at all kinds of leaks. And interestingly, the government now wants to involve the armed forces in ferrying papers. So this reminds me of the time when I was the Hindus correspondent in Pakistan and the use of the army. For instance, for census even, the Pakistani government was using the army. So of course, we are not yet there in the use of the army, but it's, to my mind, quite a disturbing phenomenon. But what I want to ask you is that whatever merit system we built up, and I use it within quotes, in the last 70-75 years, it's an imperfect system, but it has done what it does. It supplies civil servants, it supplies judges, it supplies doctors, it supplies engineers. So if the integrity of this system is under question and repeated leaks after strengthening, so what does it mean for students?
I'll tell you, I think what was there in our minds for quite some time now has been expressed by somebody from their ecosystem, right wing ecosystem, Surjit Bhallaji. He wrote about that Modi ji and his team has known how to win election. You know, governance is not simply about winning election. So they have bifurcated. There is a hyphen between governance and winning election. I'll give you my example. Example from my university. I teach in Department of Social Work. Every year, our session used to start on 16th of July or 17th, depending on whichever day is Monday or Tuesday. It shouldn't be Saturday, Sunday. Since CUET has come, I'm beginning with CUET. My session doesn't start timely.
Because admissions don't happen.
Admissions don't happen, staggered admission process. So by the time the last boy or a girl comes to your class, you are half through the first semester. Number one. NEET. I had raised this issue together with many members from Congress and DMK in the parliament. Government is actually in denial mode. You know, this is one government, and I have seen so many governments. I have read about, when I was not born, I have read about Nehruvian cabinet, subsequently about Indiraji's cabinet, Morarji Bhai's cabinet, and so on. There was something called accountability. This government thinks accountability shouldn't be in their political dictionary. It is not there. Yesterday, the chairman of CBSE, or somehow a member secretary, was was removed or transferred, not even removed, transferred. And there
To
was
the agriculture ministry.
and there was identical tweets all over the X, similar breaking news, decisive action, blah blah blah. I'm an inner cabinet, and I also don't belong to those people who only seek the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhanji, the education minister. This is a cabinet whose motto is me, my, and mine. Nothing beyond me, nothing beneath me, nothing besides me. That's Modi ji. A minister cannot change a, a table in his or her ministry, not even a flower pot. So, accountability in that kind of cabinet should be very clear. The buck should stop where? Because they have felt, whether it is, I mean, ridiculous thing is to draw army in this entire, uh, because I believe Indian army, we were very proud of that they do their job, what is supposed, what is expected of them. Isn't it a complete admission of failure? That's the admission of the government's failure. And if there is admission of the failure, who should be held accountable? Held accountable. Not only education minister, prime minister himself. Because this is a cabinet which is self-centered cabinet. That's why I believe that education certainly is not their priority. Unemployment, concerns about unemployment does not affect their cognitive frame. Their cognitive frame is only concerned about Bengal done, what next? Bihar done, what next? So if a government is perpetually in election mode, I think we should have an arrangement that government should have a clue, one for winning elections or fighting election, one for
Governance,
governance.
like a split.
Yeah.
And so, but for young people, I mean, a lot of people in the elite sections go abroad, but most people are here. So, how, I mean, isn't it a rather bleak scenario that, you prepare for these exams? Like when I went to Delhi University, there was no CUET. You entered on the basis of the marks that you got. In the government, in its wisdom, has introduced this new system. So, today, with the leaks that are happening, what kind of future do these youngsters have?
I'll tell you, most of your questions, if I examine, my response would be that I share what is going in the minds of people, whether the young who is not getting job, or whether the young who is not getting admission in time, whether the young who approaches center for examination and sits and writes the exam and comes back home to the news, breaking news that the paper has been leaked. Paper leak should be seen from the lens of those parents from Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, or any other state. They sell a part of their small land, put their wards in urban centers. They prepare for full 1 year. Family survives apart from that. Family suffers apart from that student, boy or a girl. Ultimately, after 1 year, he or she is told your paper, you have to reappear. Will every family have that kind of resource or the energy? I know many families, they cannot afford to rerun the entire exercise. If these issues don't impact the government, it doesn't make them change their course. I don't know what else will.
But the transfer is, as you said, the word accountability doesn't seem to
No,
figure.
no, no, not at all. He has been transferred from place A to place B. I mean, imagine it's like a beat constable was there at a distance of 2 kilometers where a stampede took place. Thousands of people lost their lives, and the government comes that we have taken action. That beat constable has been transferred from this beat to Dwarika beat. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it mocks the very idea of accountability, fixing the idea of accountability. The back of the mind is for this government. Bengal done, what next?
And, to sort of wrap up this discussion in a way, we heard lots of Congress talk about Congress Mukt Bharat, but it looks as if the BJP is looking for an opposition Mukt Bharat. And do you think they're succeeding in that project?
I'll tell you, as of now, it appears that they are on a successful trajectory. It appears. But today only I was writing something, and I have an argument to make that when they say they are finishing regional parties, Amitji, mark my words, if regional parties are gone, the idea of India is gone. Regional parties have not mushroomed just for the sake of it. Post-Nehruvian phenomena, regional parties are located largely in post-Nehruvian world because all the regions, more or less, except for one election in Kerala, the regions looked up to Nehru that he'll be able to do justice to its states and the union, and thus this relationship shall be balanced relationship, not tilted in favor of A or B. Post-Nehruvian politics changed that scenario, and then subsequently for lot many other regions, regional parties come in the picture in different states. You know, regional parties represent the aspiration of a different region. I have been saying this, I have said this in my book, that India itself is a coalition. Idea of India is idea of coalition. Coalition of language, coalition of region, coalition of religion, or whatever. If this coalition, which is represented by the so-called national parties and the regional parties, if this is broken, somewhere the cracks shall be on the idea of India itself. So it's premature. Yes, we have lost election. I can't deny. It's a black and white. We have lost election. But with 29-30% vote share, nobody should write an obituary. In case of Bengal, Trinamool, 41% of people, it might go down. But even if there is 2% behind an idea, that idea doesn't die. BJP did not die when it was reduced to 2 members. No philosophy dies, no idea dies. It has periods of up, periods of down. Let's consider that we are in that phase.
Well, on that note, Dr. Manoj Kumar Jha, thank you so much for talking to Speakeasy and Frontline.
Thank you so much.